In this tutorial, you will learn how to set up simple passwordless authentication using Kinde. This feature will help you secure your app content visible only to authenticated users. What you will need: a Figma design, a Bravo Studio Solo account, a Kinde account, a Xano account. First, let's set up our Figma design. In your Figma design, you will need to design and set up a sign-in page. The top layer frame must have the page.login Bravo tag. Additionally, you need to add a sign-in button with the action login Bravo tag. In our example, we are creating a company directory which is only accessible to authenticated users. Using the prototyping tool, we select what will be the first page an authenticated user will see. For that, we add the flow 1 to the corresponding page. We can now import our design to Bravo Studio. Secondly, we will set up our Kinde account. Create a free Kinde account if you don't have one yet. Remember, these steps are really important since you will use some of this info later in our authentication configuration. After creating your account, you start by selecting from scratch and follow the instructions. Select Other Backend. Add Bravo Studio, although this step is optional. In this tutorial, we will choose email as the way our users will authenticate. Next, choose No Thanks. We won't connect our code base. At this stage, we have set up our Kinde account and Kinde app project. Now, we need to add allowed callback URLs to our Kinde app. In order to do this, we need to view details of our Kinde app and get these URLs from Bravo Studio, where we will also switch on our authentication integration. In Bravo Studio, inside your newly imported project, go to Integrations. In the Integrations tab, enable OAuth 2.0 and click Show in order to see the Bravo callback URLs. Copy all 3 URLs, one by one, and add them to your Kinde app list of allowed callback URLs. To do this, in Kinde, click on View Details of your app. Enter the 3 Bravo callback URLs. Make sure none of the URLs end with the / symbol. Once you have added the callback URLs, you can click Save. Next, we will add our Kinde client ID and client secret key to our Bravo Studio authentication configuration. You will also find them in your Kinde app detail page. You will notice that some fields are also required on this page. Therefore, keep this window open for now, since we will retrieve the missing fields. Thirdly, let's set up Xano. Sign up and go through the Xano onboarding process. Install our snippet using the provided link in our documentation. Head to Marketplace and select Purchased in order to further configure the snippet. Select the snippet and hit Install Snippet. Go to Manage Snippet. Back in Kinde app details, copy your domain. Insert your domain in environment variables without the HTTPS and hit Save. By now, our installed snippet has created our OAuth API endpoints, which we will copy and add them to our OAuth 2.0 configuration in the Bravo Studio Authentication tab. In Xano, go to API section. Select the GetAuthMe API endpoint and copy API endpoint. Add the copied API endpoint to the user info URL field in Bravo Studio Authentication configuration. Back in Xano, hit back and select the Get External Auth API endpoint, and also copy its API endpoint and add it to Bravo Studio. Lastly, in Xano, head back to your API group and select the External Token API endpoint. Copy the API endpoint and add it to Token URL field in Bravo Studio. While in Bravo, we will also fill the scope with OpenID email profile offline and hit Save. In Xano, for our last step, we go back to our APIs, we open our External Token API endpoint. We click to expand Section 2, Function Stack. Scroll down till 1.8 and click to open. We make sure to select our external user table with its corresponding table number and click Save. In order to reflect this changes, hit the Publish button. Next, we will create a data collection in Bravo Studio and add our GetAuthMe API endpoint. To do this, in Bravo Studio, we go to the Data tab of our project. Select Create a new collection from scratch. Name your data collection. Open the data collection settings. Move over to the Authentication options and select Use Settings Application OAuth 2 and click Save. Back in Xano, copy the AuthMe API endpoint. For this again, we go to APIs. Select to open AuthMe endpoint. Click Copy API endpoint. Back in Bravo Studio, we add the copied API endpoint to our GET request and we hit Send. Now, Bravo will redirect you to Kinde in order to authenticate to access your app. Create a new user account to your app and authenticate. Once you see the success page, go back to your Bravo Studio tab and click Send. At this point, you will see that the received data is coming back under received data. Congratulations! You have successfully set up authentication in your Bravo app.